What's up, everybody? Good morning. Hello. Welcome to Philly with Job Marks on PHLY, as always, brought to you by Bet Parks. And right now on the Bet Parks app, Eagles 3.5-point favorites over the Washington Commanders. Thursday Night Football. Going to be a strange week because we get over and we talk about the Cowboys win yesterday, and then we have a game staring right at us on Thursday night, an important divisional game, really, for the NFC East. Wow, what a game yesterday. By the way, like and subscribe. You're watching on YouTube and all of our mad chatters right here. I see already somebody complaining about me on the chat here in YouTube, saying that what am I going to complain about this week with the game? Well, hold tight for that. Like, subscribe, and get involved in the chat. We go live every day at 8 o'clock. We appreciate all of our chatters and our community that we're building here if you're watching live. Otherwise, you can watch on YouTube whenever. But just like and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube or on Roku, if you're watching on Samsung Plus, yes, 24/7, all of our content's running. And if you're listening on the podcast, good morning to everybody. And hello. The Eagles win. And not only did they win, they dominated a really, really bad football team. Right? Like a well-coached, good team can work through having a bad backup quarterback or an average backup quarterback. That wasn't going to happen yesterday. With Dak Prescott, the Cowboys were getting blown out, and they were getting blown out at home with Dak Prescott. Without Dak Prescott, you saw what happened yesterday. But it wasn't until the second half that really the Eagles kind of stuck their foot on their throat, the Cowboys' throat, and took them out. Really interesting point in the game because the Eagles are now 7-2. They have a 5-game winning streak. Everything looks great right now. Their first win in Dallas in 7 years. But this was a close game heading towards halftime. So let's pick it up from here. This was a huge string of events that happened here, right? The Eagles are only leading 7-3. Cowboys are driving. They're on a 12-play, 77-yard drive at the Eagles' 6-yard line. The 13th play is the first handoff of the game to Ezekiel Elliott, who fumbles it. A strip by Zack Baun. More of him coming up in a second. Cooper DeJean recovers in the end zone. Boom. Touchback. Eagles football. But they give it right back because Jalen Hurts 2 plays later is sacked by Micah Parsons. Fumble. Cowboys recover right back at the 6-yard line. But the Eagles defense held them again. First and goal. A handoff to Ezekiel Elliott for 3 yards. Second and goal, incomplete pass. Third and goal. That's where Rico went for -2 yards, and they kicked the field goal, and it's now 7-6. But again, it's still only 7-6. And I started feeling like, all right, this can't be the Jags game again last week. The Eagles allowed the Jags to hang in that game in the first half and then in the beginning of the third quarter, and then all of a sudden the couple unfortunate plays, a Fugazi fumble by Saquon Barkley, and legitimately at the end of the game, the Jaguars could have won, and everybody would have went crazy and would have wanted Nick Sirianni fired. So that couldn't happen again this week. So the Eagles are leading 7-6. They had an interception, a fumble, a couple of punts, and they really should have been up much more than that. They were dominating as far as a yard standpoint, but they only had a 1-point lead. First and 10 at their own 16-yard line, 1:43 left to go in the half. First and 10, 16-yard line. They're only up 7-6. Jalen Hurts leads them on a 7-play, 84-yard drive, and it was capped by a Dallas Goedert touchdown. Welcome back, Dallas Goedert. 14-yard touchdown from Jalen Hurts. On the drive, he was 5 for 6, 60 yards. And he had a 24-yard run. It was a nice scramble to get him going. On the day, 14 for 20, 202 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. That was really the game right there because that kind of took the edge off of it. 7-6, everybody's thinking, man, under 2 minutes to go. Don't give the Cowboys the ball back. Like, how are you gonna navigate this drive? What are you gonna do? And it was great play calling. Jalen Hurts looked really good. And it was that was really the game right there. It took the edge off it. It gave them the lead. They never looked back in the second half. And like that was the pivot point of the game. Defense bailed them up a couple times because Jalen had an interception in the end zone. That was, I think, more than anything, just a great play by the Cowboys. And then they had the fumble, the Micah Parsons strip sack fumble. Like that's two turnovers in the first half of a game. How do you lose a game like that? How do you lose a game that Dallas to the Cowboys with a backup quarterback? You do exactly what the Eagles did in the first half last night, which is turn the ball over and not capitalize on scoring opportunities. And in that one swoop right there, they turned the game around and they never looked back in the second half. So shout out to them for that. Eagles defense was amazing again. They're not giving up touchdowns. Last 5 games, check this out, Eagles defense. They're giving up 10 points per game, just over 200 yards per game, and 4 total touchdowns. 4 touchdowns in 5 games. So really, what was looked at as maybe a concern of this team, and I know I looked at it as a concern of the Eagles this year, has turned into not only a dominating defense, but a young dominating defense. And their MVP? How about Zack Baun, the linebacker that was an afterthought? A 1-year, $1.6 million contract that he signed. Oh, no, he's going to make more money after this. And it's going to have to be in Philadelphia. They can't let him walk. Not the way that he's playing. He led the team in tackles again. He had 2 forced fumbles yesterday. And he, week after week, is coming out, and he is pretty much involved in every play that they're having on defense. He has played amazing. Eagles came out to start the second half. The wheels fell off for the Cowboys, and then it became a fun game because then they put Trey Lance in, then they take Trey Lance back out, then they're throwing interceptions, then they're fumbling it. Cooper Rush is throwing everything to the line of scrimmage. Trey Lance is throwing interceptions. He's fumbling it, and it was a fun fourth quarter. It's fun when Jalen Hurts isn't playing in the fourth quarter, at least most of the time. Because that means either the Eagles are getting crushed or the Eagles are winning. Or he's hurt. And he wasn't hurt. And the Eagles rolled on the Cowboys. And that's 5 straight. And you have a matchup on Thursday night that's going to be to be the leader in the division heading down the home stretch. This has been an impressive run for the Eagles. And you can look and you can say, well, the Cowboys had a backup quarterback and their offense stunk, or like, look at the teams that they've beaten, Deshaun Watson and the Browns. There's not one even little fiber of me that believes like that. The Eagles have, in the last 5 weeks, come into their own since the bye week, and since really Kellen Moore has figured out, all right, here's what I think this offense can now be after a couple of weeks of growing as the offensive play caller and trying to figure out what to do. And Vic Fangio, man, we had a lot of questions about him early on. I thought Fangio would come in and he would give you a respected, experienced defensive coordinator that they hadn't had, or they hadn't had a good one, that's for sure. And man, is he doing a great job. And these players are doing a great job. A young, hungry defense. Their secondary is unbelievable. Cooper DeJean continues to make plays. Reed Blankenship continues to make plays. You don't even really notice Quinton Mitchell because he's not giving up a lot of completions, right? And then Slay can come in and out of games and be injured, and it doesn't matter because this team is locking them down right now. I'm so excited for this match. This is a huge game on Thursday night. I'm excited to see how the Eagles react to it. But all in all, man, anytime you go down to Dallas and you win a game like that, a laugher. And we'll talk about the Cowboys sides of things coming up after headlines here because, oh, man, it would be fun right now to be covering the Cowboys because there is chaos everywhere. Chaos everywhere. And Dak Prescott's got to be feeling a little good about himself, a little bit good about himself because remember when, you can win with Cooper Rush. Oh, Cooper Rush, Dak Prescott, you just need a game manager. No, Cooper Rush stinks. And he showed it yesterday. I wouldn't expect them to go 4-1 in Cooper Rush's starts here. First win in Dallas in 7 years. Just just dominated them in the second half. And that's what you want to see from this team. They didn't play with their food. They didn't do what they did against the Jags, and they were in position to do that. Jalen Hurts with a huge drive after coming off a couple turnovers. Got him down, got him up. And even though they came out in the second half, they got the ball and they went 3 and out. They had a touchdown in their next possession, and the wheels fell off for Dallas after that. That was an awesome game. Awesome game. So we'll talk more about it coming up here after we get to some headlines with Tyler Zuli, who joins us. But Tyler, your reaction to the Eagles, 7-2, 5-game winning streak.
Yeah.
They look great. Looked great yesterday. Fun game.
Listen, I think that, it's easy to say, well, Cooper Rush was the quarterback and Trey Lance was the quarterback. It doesn't matter. Your defense dominated an NFL team who, yes, has had a ton of issues over the last couple of weeks. The Cowboys are in disarray. There's no doubt about it. But your defense dominated an NFL team, when they needed the most to, because the offense was, trying to find get out of first gear in the first couple of drives. And then the offense picks it up, as you brought up, that drive. It felt like Jalen Hurts flipped a switch because there was a little bit of inconsistency between either Jalen Hurts holding onto the ball too long when he did get protection, or the offensive line not playing particularly well for certain portions of the first half. I think, and it's difficult to defend Micah Parsons, right? It's difficult to block Micah Parsons. Fred Johnson struggled at times, but that drive felt like a switch for this offense in that game because Jalen Hurts was decisive. The receivers were getting open in space. The throw that he made to Dallas Goedert, he not only was the throw good, but he stepped in. DeMarvin Overshown had a free blitz at him. Run right up the middle, free blitz out of him. He avoids the sack. He steps up in the pocket. He rolls to his right. He fires a pass to Goddard, hits him right in the hands. And from that point on, it felt like this game was going to become dominated by the Eagles because their defense was tremendous. Cooper Rush averaged 2 yards per throw. 2 yards per throw.
I saw
45 yards on 23 attempts.
Reuben Frank. His pass attempts, 4 yards, -1 yard, 6 yards, 0 yards, 3 yards, 9 yards, 10 yards, 5 yards, 1, 2, 3, 22 passes, and only 2 were longer than 6 yards.
Yep.
He was.
And then
brutal.
Trey Lance, 4 for 6, but 21 yards. He throws a pick, a ton of turnovers, a ton of defensive being opportunistic when you needed them to. You brought up Zack Baun, who was sensational in this game. You also brought up Quinyon Mitchell, who I think we have raved about just about every game this season so far. This kid has proven as to why he was such a highly touted corner, even coming out of Toledo. His positioning is good. His body control is good. He knows how to run routes with receivers and kind of take the air out of them a little bit, deflate their routes a little bit and put his body in position where he is going to be the one to make the play. He's been incredible this year. The defense has been stellar over the last couple of weeks.
Sure has.
And again, you brought it up and you say, can you play, are you playing great quarterbacks? You're not. Trevor Lawrence has been struggling. He was also probably dealing with an injury. Deshaun Watson stinks. They were with a backup quarterback. It doesn't matter. You're going
Joe
out.
Burrow.
You're dominating NFL teams. You did play really, really well against Joe Burrow, who threw for 7 billion yards this past Thursday. So the point being is this defense is clicking right now. The offense, it took a little bit of time to get into stride, but overall, you sit here and your football team won by 4 touchdowns yesterday, and your feet were up on the ottoman for a majority of the second half. You were just chilling, relaxing, watching the game, enjoying the Eagles win another one. That's 5 straight after starting 2-2. This is an entirely different football team than the team that went to Tampa Bay and got crushed.
Yeah, and they're still not there yet, right? You had mentioned it, Tyler. They're still not there yet. They're still struggling a little bit in the first half. That touchdown to put them up 14-6, it still only put them up 14-6. And Ezekiel Elliott, if he doesn't get the ball punched out, and God, Jerry Jones, and we'll talk about you and your sunny stadium in a second. Shout out to you for bringing back Ezekiel Elliott and giving him $3 million guaranteed. And Mike McCarthy, shout out to you for bringing in Zeke and giving him that handoff at the 6-yard line for his first handoff of the game that he fumbled. Because if you have a bona fide real running attack and back, maybe that's a touchdown. So with all this being said, and you should be happy, extremely happy. This team's rolling right now. They won 5 straight games, but they're still coming into their own. The offense is still trying to figure out things early, and it feels like they're right there because they've been good. Jalen Hurts, despite the interception and the fumble, and the Cowboys came out with a good game plan on how to defend the Eagles in the first half. So give them credit. Micah Parsons was all over the field. They were stunting him. Fred Johnson was trying to follow him inside, and he had no shot at doing that. Again, like Fred Johnson's done a really good job since taking over for Jordan Mailata. That's one of the best defensive players in football that is now lining up across from you. So, like, you had to realize that was going to be a tough matchup, and he looked healthy.
Well, and that was intentional by Dallas too, right? Who do you want to go up against? Do you want to go up against the future Hall of Famer in Lane Johnson, or the perennial journeyman tackle who's, as you said, has played well in spots, but he's the lesser of the two by a fairly sizable margin? You're going to attack a weak point. I thought for the most part the offensive line played well. They played really well in the second half. The first half, there was a couple of opportunities, as you said, where it was a little bit off kilter, a little bit out of sync. But listen, I'm not going to sit here and complain about a 28-point victory. There's nothing really to complain about. They were dominant from that last drive of the first half to the end of the game.
For sure. Yeah, and Washington's coming off on Thursday night, short week. Game is at home. Washington is coming off of a really, really tough loss. I don't know if you caught any of that game or the end of that game, but they had a lead against at home against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, I give them a lot of credit for coming back. And they had a shot. They even had a shot late. Rookie defensive lineman jumped off sides when it was freaking clear. It was clear that they were going to. They were just trying to draw them off, and they weren't going to go for it right there.
Well, it's funny.
Thank God.
It's funny with Pittsburgh because I felt like I was sitting here for weeks going, really good defense, the offense doesn't scare me. Really good defense, the offense doesn't scare me. And they continue to win football games. So at some point, you have to just go, okay, they're a good football
legitimately
team.
good.
Yeah.
They're
We knew the
good.
defense was going to be legit coming into the year. The perennial player of the year candidate in TJ Watt, and it's just a good, well-rounded defense.
They're a good football team.
It's a good team, man.
Yeah, because Washington's a good football team.
Yeah, for sure.
They are. And Russ, he had I think he almost looked like 14 to 28 yesterday, but he threw a deep ball on the go-ahead touchdown that was fantastic. It really was. Zack Ertz on the previous drive, he went past the sticks, but then he had to come back to the ball, and it was like 4th and 1, but he didn't get it. If it was a 4th and 9, he didn't get the first down. So that was a hell of a game. It really was. Washington's good, so they're coming off a bad loss. Eagles are coming off a fairly easy win. I can't wait for this Thursday night. Eagles 3.5-point favorites, Tyler, which is a slight nod to the Eagles. This is what the odds makers are saying with that line. If the Eagles are 5-point favorites against Washington, that's Eagles are going to win this game. If the Eagles are 2-point favorites against Washington, that's but it's a slight hat tip to the Eagles being 3.5 points. So I think that this is very much a toss-up game and a good game.
Yeah, the old mantra of the home team gets 3. I don't know how much that applies anymore. Like, I think it's still applicable to say there might be a point or two to be the home team, but the old mantra of like it's just a guaranteed 3.
Yeah, I just
don't think that's applicable anymore.
I agree.
I think you're right. I think that what Vegas is telling you is they believe that the Eagles are slightly better than Washington, at least at Lincoln Financial Field in this particular spot. This is going to be a good game. I don't think they've played a quarterback like Jayden Daniels this year. I mean, Joe Burrow obviously is a very, very good quarterback, but the skill set that Jayden Daniels possesses, I don't think they've played a quarterback of that merit yet this year. It's going to be interesting to see how this linebacking core that has played well, like Zack Baun and Nakobe Dean, how they play laterally this week, how they defend Jayden Daniels in the run game, how they defend Jayden Daniels when he extends the pocket to make plays happen. Short rest, you're going to rely upon the guys that are healthy or that are healthiest. And to be able to say that Jalen Hurts didn't have to play the fourth quarter, that Saquon Barkley didn't have to play the fourth quarter, a bulk of your offensive line didn't have to play the fourth quarter. I think that's significant. I think that means something for the Eagles this week.
Yeah, because Saquon, he's banged up again a little bit. Starting to worry about his health a little bit. He had a lot of carries, man. He's been getting the ball a lot, and he got banged up again. he was out of the game for a while there. But it is good that you didn't need high leverage carries from him late, and he could take off because this was a this was a defense / Jalen Hurts game. Jalen did a little bit of everything, and the defense played great. And let's face it, Dallas sucks. They've been getting blown out by everybody at home. Like historically, getting blown out by everybody at home.
And we talked about it, right? This is a team that has really struggled to run the football all season long. And then when you're without your quarterback, it becomes even more of a difficult task. They ran for 97 yards yesterday, but this is a team that averaged 3.8 yards a carry coming into the game. They averaged 4 yards a carry at the end of the game. Rico Dowdle had 53 yards, but 19 of them came on one carry. So if you take that one away, it's, and I know it's tough to extrapolate one play because it's part of the game.
Early, they had some success running.
Yeah, if you take that 19-yard play away, he's 11 for 34. I mean, that's just over 3.3 yards a carry.
And then once everything started unraveling in the second half, it was you knew it was done immediately. Immediately, it was over. All right, so let's we'll get to your headlines coming up here in a second there, but let's talk about because I see him in the chat. C-Jam Construction. That's right. An interior remodeler specializing in bathrooms, floors, and decks, serving all of South Jersey and the Philly suburbs. C-Jam comes from the name of the grandfather's boat. C-Jam's the first initial of the 4 kids' names, including my buddy Mark, his father. One-stop shop contractor because they handle all phases of the remodel, so you don't have to hire a subcontractor for this, some contractor for that. Here's the bottom line. And he sent me pictures of a lot of stuff they've been doing recently. We actually put up the picture of the deck that he was doing, the covered deck that he was doing that looked amazing. If you're looking for a new bathroom, want to get your floors done, right? Decks, whatever, all of South Jersey and Philly, C-Jam is the place to go. All right, one-stop shop contractor. They handle all phases of the remodel, so you don't have to worry about hiring different guys and bringing different people in your house. It's nice to be able to trust one person. And all their jobs are backed by a 1-year labor warranty. And they offer financing as well. Did you hear that? Financing. So it's C-Jam, CJAMconstruction.com. C-Jam Construction. Listen, you're a part of the show. You're a fan of the show. You're looking to get some work done. This is somebody that is in our community, that is a viewer of the show every morning. Give them a call. Check out the website, 856-329-2933. If you're getting something done, you're thinking about getting something done, CJAMconstruction.com. Shout out to him right there. All right, let's talk about Glad Hair Restoration for a second. Yep. And actually, it was one of the last things I did before I came on camera I'm like, oh, no. I didn't put product in my hair because, all right, like last night I took a shower, got in the bed, and then pretty much fell right asleep, and I got the bed head, right? But like that's a good thing to have the bed head. That means I have hair, right? And that's Glad Hair Restoration, part of Morgenstern Center under the direction of renowned plastic surgeon Dr. Ken Morgenstern. And what makes them and what sets them apart, Glad Hair Restoration than anybody else, is their experience and their success. All right. When I say the top hair restoration practice in the country, I mean it. I mean it. I talk to people in the business from Denver, from California, from here, and they are like, yep, they do. They most experience, most success. So if you're looking to get something as important as a hair restoration procedure done, don't you want the most experienced practice out there? That's Glad Hair Restoration. But here's the thing. In 2024, with all the science and technology that's happened with hair restoration isn't necessarily the only thing that you can be talking with Glad Hair Restoration, right? They offer something called a TED treatment. It's something I get done every year because it reduces the shedding and the balding. So maybe you're worried about your hair, but you're like, I probably don't need a hair restoration procedure just yet. Instead of going out and wasting your money on the sprays that are on the market that you see on Instagram, check out Glad Hair. Topical oral medications are out there. Vitamin supplementation. You may not know about this. Very, very effective. PRP and stem cell restoration is the new thing, and also the hair restoration surgery. And every single person that contacts Glad Hair Restoration gets a complimentary one-on-one consultation. They're not just trying to sell you and saying like, hey, yeah, you need hair restoration. Give me all your money. No, they're going to look at it. My girl Lisa's going to look at it. I'm going to say, you know what? Here's what I think we should do. Here's what I think we should do. Here's my recommendation to you. All right. Glad hair is just not about restoration. It's about innovation. Their breakthrough treatments can really get your hair back. Call them today, 610-980-4000, 610-980-4000, or the website, Glatt Hair, G-L-A-T Hair, MCTR.com. All right. Well, there we go. A lot happened in the NFL yesterday outside of the Eagles, and also we had some Sixers and Flyers over the weekend. Let's get to the headlines with Tyler Zuli. Good morning, Tyler.
Yeah, let's do it. And I know you just told our friends about Glatt Hair Restoration, but it doesn't hurt to tell them one more time because Glatt is the way to go if you're looking to rejuvenate how you feel and regain your confidence because bald is now optional. All you got to do is visit glatthairmctr.com or call 610-980-4000 to get started and get all of the incredible work done that John was just referencing. But yes, it was a pretty productive night across the Philadelphia sports landscape. One of the games was in hand from the start, or at least from the, from half on. That was the Eagles, of course. Sixers needed a little bit extra time, an extra session to beat the Charlotte Hornets to pick up just their second win of the year. They win 107-105. They beat Charlotte by winning the overtime period 10-8. For the Sixers, Jared McCain looked really, really sharp. Led the way with 27 points in 31 minutes played. Yabusele also had 20 as well. Handful of players also figured in double figures, including Paul George, who had 15. Andre Drummond with 13. Jeff Doughton put in 11 in his 23 minutes. LaMelo Ball led all scorers with 38. Brandon Miller with 22 for the Hornets as well. But the Sixers do finally snap a losing streak, and they get back home for the first time in quite some time. They beat the Charlotte Hornets 107-105.
Yeah, didn't have a lot of focus on this one yesterday, but getting a win is very important. Paul George struggled shooting. Yabusele again was one of the better players out there. And McCain, listen, you need Maxey, especially with Embiid out. You need Maxey to put up a lot of shots and to score points. You need somebody that's going to score points. Now he's out. McCain's stepping right in. I mean, he's
played well. Yeah.
Yeah, he has not been shy at shooting the ball, and it's good to see.
Well, I think one of the things, too, that was impressive was down the stretch in the overtime period, he was the one commanding the ball. It was him and LaMelo Ball going back and forth as the, primary creators of the offense for their teams. Yep. I got to give the kid a lot of credit. He was poised, and he looked really, really sharp in this one.
Yeah, so 6 of Yabusele's Yabba Dabba Doo, 6 of his 8 were assisted by Paul George. So I see Adam Aronson's Twitter out here. He has all of them out there, and it's like, yeah, you can see it. Paul George, boom, he's looking for him. They need guys to score on this team right now with Embiid out.
Sure.
So thank God. Andre Drummond, we had talked about this before going on the air. Andre Drummond, I think, is good at 12 minutes a night, 12 to 15 minutes a night as a true backup, where he's just getting rebounds. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen when Embiid comes back. Maybe they try to they try to use both of them. Yabu as a stretch for, but I don't know. We'll see. I guess it's a good problem to have.
Well, speaking of Joel Embiid, his suspension is officially over. He could be able to return tomorrow night against the New York Knicks when the NBA Cup group stage begins, because I know you're super excited about that one.
Man, yeah, it's like the night before Christmas, man. I'm going to have trouble falling asleep tonight.
Of course. Sixers-Knicks at 7:30 tomorrow night at the Wells Fargo Center. We'll keep you updated on Joel Embiid's status. He is at least officially able to play in this one.
Yeah, I hope he's ready to go, because I really want to. I'm really excited to see. I'm excited to see them play the Knicks too at home, and I want Embiid back for it. If Maxey's obviously not going to be back, all right, that sucks. But having Embiid and Paul George, it'll be rocking down at the Wells Fargo Center. Hopefully he can play.
Yeah, so we'll go to the NFL real quick. You brought up the Commanders losing. Of course, the Cowboys lose to the Eagles. The Giants also lose. So all 3 teams in the NFC East, with the exception of the Eagles, lose. The Giants, go to Munich and lose to the Carolina Panthers in overtime, 20-17. Daniel Jones stinks again, continues to stink. Threw 2 interceptions yesterday, 190 yards on 37 attempts. But it was Chuba Hubbard who really kind of commanded the day, 153 yards and a touchdown. Tyrone Tracy fumbles the ball in overtime, leads to Carolina's game-winning field goal from Eddie Pinheiro. Carolina goes to 3-7. The Giants are tied for the worst record in the NFL with a 2-8 record after their first 10 games.
Yeah. The tankathon has probably started. I saw a lot of Giants fans who were saying, "Well, you'll bench Daniel Jones." I would keep Daniel Jones right in there. Atlanta, because you're going to lose games. Who knows what happens if you put another quarterback in there? But they're bad. That was a bad game. I saw some discussion over the weekend of like, hey, because Roger Goodell had said more or less there's going to be a lot of international games and more or less teams are going to have to play at least every other year over there, which I love. I love the early game. Yeah, it'd be nice if there was a better matchup than Bryce Young against Daniel Jones, but that's what you had yesterday. And Carolina got the win, but it doesn't mean Bryce Young can play.
No, I mean, it was two bad teams. One of them had to win the game. It just happened to be Carolina.
For sure.
How about two good teams, or at least, obviously 6-4, maybe not a great record, but it's not a bad record either. It's above 500, and Houston is a decent team, but it was an interesting game last night. The Detroit Lions go down 23-7 at halftime, and I got to be honest with you, John, I shut it off and went to bed at half, and they stormed back. They scored all 19 points in the second half to win this game 26-23. Despite the fact that Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions yesterday. The Lions win 26-23 over the Houston Texans. They are now 8-1 on the regular season, the best record in the NFC. Obviously, the only team with a better record in the NFL is the Kansas City Chiefs, who are now 9-0.
Yeah, and the Chiefs win on a blocked field goal. And it's not one of these 60-yard block field goals where the kicker's got to shoot a line drive, and that's one of the reasons why it gets blocked. No, it was under 40 yards, I think. Yeah, I think
it was like 38 yards.
Yeah,
it was a shorter field goal attempt.
It's unbelievable. So you can look at it one of two ways. A, the Chiefs are so freaking good they can just win. Pat Mahomes wasn't good again yesterday, right? The defense is great. You can look at it and say like, all right, like, they're not the unbelievable team. They can win in any way. Or like they've been getting fortunate that they're winning a lot of these games, and we're still only in the beginning of November. What does this team look like in the playoffs? It's Andy Reid it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what he's built in Kansas City. And I know Pat Mahomes hasn't been the Pat Mahomes we saw when he had 50 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. He has not been that player. Now, late, there's nobody I'd rather have the ball in my hands. I'm not saying he's still not a great player, but Andy Reid has built a great team. And it's fun to watch. It's hard to root against the Chiefs unless they're going up against the Eagles. So I like them. And you mentioned Detroit. I had saw a lot during the week where they were talking about Jared Goff's QBR and the quarterback rating and everything, because he had been near perfect for his last couple of weeks. The completion percentage was 80-some%, and he goes out last night and he has 5 interceptions, some bad ones too. Well, thank you, Tyler. Thank you for the headlines. The Flyers also played over the weekend. We were assuming on Saturday that Michkov was going to be back in the lineup. Not the case, and Flyers fans melted down appropriately afterwards, which I was totally fine with.
Well, and I will say this: the Flyers do play tonight. They're home against the San Jose Sharks.
Will he be back?
5-8-2 on the season. Is he going to be back tonight? We'll see. We'll see what happens when the lines come out.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, like, you don't know what's going on internally. So did he earn sitting out for 2 games? I mean, I don't think so. If you're a Flyer fan, you're tuning in for a lot of the reasons are you're tuning in to see your young phenom, and him sitting 2 straight games to me. Like I needed to see him play on Saturday night. I think like teaching moments and things like that, and we can argue whether or not Tortorella is being too Tortorella in this situation. It appears to most people that he is. But you also have to look out for the fan. And the Flyers fan that has been waiting for a season like this and waiting for a young player like this, put him in the freaking lineup on Saturday night so I can sit down and watch the game. Because, by the way, I was watching the Panthers game. I was watching the Flyers and Panthers. So much so that I noticed that they ripped off the Penn State Nittany Lion roar. And you may not have seen a lot of the game because the Nittany Lions were playing at the same time. But I didn't see it because it's on Peacock, and I won't watch anything on Peacock just because it's on Peacock. But anyway, they use this exact same roar to the Nittany Lion.
Yeah, whatever. Oh, well, that's fine.
But I know, but it's just proof that I was watching the game. But you know what? You know what I'm saying, Tyler? Like, I know you can't you can't program your team or coach your team or build your team based on what the fans are saying, even though it's pretty clear the Eagles listen very closely to what what the majority of fans are saying out there, and a lot of times they react to it. Like, really? Like, I tuned in Saturday night to watch Michkov play. Period. I wanted to see him back out there and see what it looked like after he sat and seeing if there was any type of response or exactly what happened. And he scratched again.
Well, it's kind of funny, too. It's an interesting dynamic with this team this year because they are still in the midst of a rebuild. You know, they want to use the phrase retool, fine, but we all know what it is, right? They got Michkov, right? He's playing earlier than expected with this team. They still are not a competitive enough team to win on a consistent basis. So what you're hoping for with the amount of picks that they have, the amount of early picks that they have over the next 2 seasons still is kind of the exact result of what you saw Saturday night. They were competitive with a Florida team that is really, really good. Obviously, Cup champions, 11-3-1 out of the gate. This team and they score in droves. You saw it. They scored 3 times.
Flyers kept fighting back, man.
In the second period, right? So my point is, if they can be a competitive organization with some jump to them and still find a way into a top 7-8 pick in the draft this year, you know, you're continuing to kickstart continuing to fuel your rebuild. At some point, you're going to, like, the moral victory doesn't mean anything anymore. But I think in the sense of, like, quote, moral victory, right now, this is maybe a good result. You do get a point, but you also are still staying in contention for a high draft pick. It's a weird, like, slippery slope conversation with a team like this because they're not ready to be a playoff team yet. They need more talent. And, of course, there's hope that, like, you know, between the guys that they're going to draft in the next 2 years, plus Denver Barkey and Oliver Bonk, some of the younger Jet Luchenko when he's back.
I don't know those guys. I'll have to learn about them.
They're with the London Knights right now, and so the assumption is that those two guys plus Luchenko plus whomever they take in the next year or two are going to be dominant players on this team. Right. When the Couturiers, when the Konechny's, those type of contracts start to bleed out a little bit, they're going to be the jumpstart of this team. So I think for a lot of Flyers fans, they probably look at Saturday as a really good middle ground result. You get a point, you don't win the game, but you play competitive against a really good hockey team. Yeah, I think that's probably a good middle ground for a lot of Flyers fans.
Yeah, just stop being such a hard ass, Torts. Just put them out there for crying out loud. Anyway. Yeah, so and then one thing on the 76ers, I saw somebody put it up on the chat. As far as that, now that everybody wants every team is going to be tanking for Cooper Flag. Is that what we're doing? So now the Sixers are going to tank. Listen, I know it's a fun conversation to have, but again, I don't work in sports radio anymore, so I don't have to do the pretend shows. The Sixers aren't tanking. They just signed Paul George. They have Joel Embiid. I know they suck to start the season. How would you propose that they tank? Trade Joel Embiid and trade Paul George? All right, I would like that too. Daryl Morey ain't doing it, and the Sixers aren't doing it. So let's stop. All right, before we start this becoming a thing that they're going to tank. They're not tanking for him. I would love to get Cooper Flag, believe me. But you know, he has a twin named Ace, Cooper and Ace Flag. There you go. All right, we'll finish up with more Eagles and. God, it's so fun to watch the Cowboys and what's going on down there with Jerry Jones. And just how this season for them, you think about everything that's happened with them, from Jer threatening to fire the radio host to now you have Curtain Gate and Sun Gate from yesterday. Oh man, that is awesome. So we'll talk about that coming up here in just a second. I don't know if Tyler, I don't know if I put down what my reads were for the second one here, unfortunately, come to think of it. So you're going to get to that coming up.
Yeah. Give me just 1 second. You can tell us about our friends at Bet Parks and TrueMark.
Well, let's talk about Bet Parks for a second, because as I mentioned, it's my go-to. It's after the game. I'm like, all right, what's the line? Let's talk about Bet Parks. What is the line for the game, the Eagles game on Thursday night? So I'm like, all right, let me go to the Bet Parks app. So now I'm like, all right, what's it going to be? Like, so if it's Eagles 5, then this is an Eagle win on Thursday night. If it's Eagles 1.5 or 2, like, I don't know about this game. And it's Eagles 3.5. So it's actually a good line from my perspective when I'm looking at it and be like, all right, this is something that makes me feel comfortable. Because think about it. Washington's coming off a really tough loss. And the Eagles are coming off an emotional win against the Cowboys, right? So it's like, so what? So it's a good line if you're an Eagle fan, right? So if you're watching all the games yesterday, it's the only one and only sportsbook app I would ever recommend. BetParks and the BetParks Sportsbook app and online casino. So when you're watching the games, listen, you can also live dealer blackjack, craps, and roulette right there on the BetParks app. And right now, new users that download the BetParks online casino app and sportsbook get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. That's right. BetParks.com for details. Your casino bonus must be wagered, and you must be 21 and in NJ, PA, Maryland, Ohio, or Michigan. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, TrueMark Financial. I was actually on the app this morning for my business checking because I paid a couple of bills and I had a couple of things come in. So I was looking and seeing like, all right, well, what's the balance? They make it so easy at TrueMark. Donna, who helped me set up the account, Mary Ellen, who has been such a great helping hand in getting me started with all this. I'm entering business for the first time, and I didn't know all the paperwork that I needed to open up a business checking account. They really helped me when I went into the Trooper location. They really helped me. They said, all right, what do you got? What else can we get? What can we get for you? Boom. Got me started on with the business checking account. But whether it's personal, whether you're in the market for a new home, and like right now, inventory is starting to get on the market. Get with TrueMark. Again, we're talking about guidance. You go in and you meet with a mortgage specialist, and they're really going to give you good one-on-one information. So you'll have a much better idea what you're doing, what you're going out there. Maybe you need to save more money for a down payment. Maybe you're ready to go right now. TrueMark's financial mortgage specialist can offer you guidance on your loan options and terms. Shout out to everybody there at TrueMark. I went to the TrueMark in Phoenixville on Friday because I had to make a deposit. So shout out to the TrueMark Financial in Phoenixville. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender. For more info, visit TrueMark.com/PHLYITY. TrueMark Financial. So when you're watching what's happening in Dallas, right? Isn't it fun? And it like at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to make fun of him too much because then it's like, all right, now you're borderline, like then you jinx yourself, and then everybody's going to be laughing at you when the Eagles, like last year, it felt so good to be 11-1 and the top of the world, we're going great, and then everything falls apart in front of your face, and you're like, damn, this sucks, right? So watching what's happening in Dallas is fun, especially with the Eagles playing as well as they're playing right now. But I don't know if I've ever seen anything like the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones. Doesn't it almost seem like it's a sitcom? This is something that it's supposed to be one of these spoofs of reality TV. It's almost like The Office. Were you Tyler? Were you a big fan of The Office? Or I've seen it, but I was never.
But more in like replay fashion.
Right.
I didn't watch it when he was live, but I've probably watched every episode at this point.
Really? I've seen a handful of episodes. I know people love it. I have no issue with it. I just never got into it. But doesn't the Dallas Cowboys seem like The Office unintentionally? I mean, Jerry Jones. So I don't even know where to start with this team this year. But during the offseason, they didn't want to re-sign Dak Prescott. They were going back and forth with his contract. CeeDee Lamb wanted a new contract. He wasn't reporting. But like it's like everything that you could possibly do to screw this team up, they've done. They gave Ezekiel Elliott $3 million when they could have had Derrick Henry, but then they couldn't afford Derrick Henry. It's unbelievable. So a couple weeks ago, after Derrick Henry ran for like 200 yards and the Cowboys can't run the ball, the radio host down in Dallas tried to ask Jerry about it. They're getting blown out at home. The Lions beat them by like 40 points. And Jerry got mad because he asked about the running back situation and he threatened to get new people ask questions to him, essentially saying, I'll get you fired and everything else. Well, yesterday, CeeDee Lamb, early in the game, you noticed it. And my wife even asked, she's like, what's going on with the sun? And I guess this has happened before, but I vaguely remember seeing this before and being like, what the hell is this? But yeah, you have the sun that's shining in the stadium. This is supposed to be like the biggest, best stadium of all time. And because what is it, Tyler? It's east to west and not north to south. They have the stadium lined up the wrong direction, because if you would have put it a different direction, you wouldn't have the sun in it. So CeeDee Lamb, and it's clear from the video when they showed the replay, he has a ball thrown towards him, and I think it would have been behind him anyway. He didn't see it at all. You know when you see the outfielder that loses the ball in the sun and they're there, they're like, I have no idea where, and then it drops like 15 feet away from him. That was CeeDee Lamb essentially yesterday. That would have been a touchdown. Again, that was another opportunity for them to score where they had to settle for a field goal. So after the game, he's asked about it. And I couldn't find this. It was on SportsCenter. I couldn't find the sound anywhere. But CeeDee Lamb's asked about it, and he's like, yeah, you need curtains for the stadium. And then Jerry was asked about it after the game. And Jerry was so mad about it. He's like, yeah, let's just tear the stadium down. And God, they're a lot of fun right now. The Dallas Cowboys are a lot of fun. But Jerry Jones was so mad after the game. He said, by the way, we know where the sun is going to be when we decide to flip the coin or not. We do know where the damn sun is going to be in our own stadium. And then earlier he said, later he said, let's tear the damn stadium down and build another one. Are you kidding me? Everybody's got the same thing. Every team that comes in here has the same issues. I'm saying the world knows where the sun is. You get to know that almost a year in advance. Someone asked me about the sun. What about the sun? Where's the moon?
Where's the moon?
That's my favorite. That's my favorite part of the whole thing. Is then he starts talking about the moon. Where's the moon?
Just start adding gravitational effects to the game now.
Very confusing. And I mean, I'm not like he obviously can't go to Blinds to Go or go to Lowe's and get blinds or shades or curtains for it. And CeeDee Lamb's, they asked CeeDee Lamb, and he's like, well, you're going to ask Jerry? And he goes, well, you're doing my job for me right now by asking me the questions about it. So like, all right, you design the stadium. You don't realize that sun's going to be shining in and it's going to be causing a problem based on the 425 games or whatever, right? And you know what? Like maybe it only affects one game a year because it's after daylight savings and it has to be sunny that day or whatever. But like maybe it only affects one game or two games or whatever. But like, don't you get it fixed? Don't you do something where you have some type of a shade? And again, I know it's not going to cost $19.99 and it may cost a couple $100,000 or whatever. I have no idea what it would cost. But like, don't you have to get that fixed so that doesn't happen?
Here's my question too. Like, why would you not only build the stadium going directionally the wrong way from which way the sun travels, and B, like, I understand that you don't want it to feel like an enclosed dome. You want some natural lighting, but like, did you need the like Ave Maria stained glass windows in the facing one full direction of the field? Like, Lucas Oil doesn't have this problem. Lucas Oil has some natural light coming in. SoFi has natural light coming in. I think Allegiant does in Vegas. I'm pretty sure that has some natural light coming in. Like, I get you want a natural light field to not make you feel like you're back in like, the dome that St. Louis used to have, right? Where it felt like you felt like you were in a basketball arena. But like,
you got to have a way to not have the sun shining
come on,
like that, man. I mean, that was just watching on TV. A reaction of a person that doesn't watch a lot of football is like, what is that? It's unbelievable. And like, when you look at the Cowboys' biggest problem, it's Jerry Jones. And imagine having the ego and to be so stubborn that you're not going to get something fixed. He's not going to get it fixed. I know it's both teams is affected the same. I know that. Like, the Eagles could have very well been affected by it as well. But imagine having the friggin' ego and being that stubborn to not do anything about it. And they're not going to do anything about it. Jerry doesn't care. The whole contract thing, Micah Parsons is going to have the same issues that CeeDee Lamb had, that Dak Prescott has, and then they're going to end up paying him anyway because that's Jer. And guess what? I think he's 83 years old now, Jerry Jones. You think this is going to get better? And it's going to get better for us because we're going to watch it. But Jerry Jones, you can see, even being in his 80s, like usually rich people in their 80s look better, or in their 70s. They look better when they get older. They're much more with it when they're older. He's starting to really lose it, where now he's going to start to be the old man. I hate to bring up Joe Paterno, but Joe Paterno at the end, you could tell. Joe Biden at the end, not to get into politics, but you know what I mean. You hit that wall where you go from where you're like, wow, like it happened with my grandmother, happened in her 90s, but it happened with my grandmother where it's like, wow, like really, really sharp to, yeah, he's really starting to lose it. And to me, it seems like Jair's really starting to lose it this season. So it should be fun to watch for us at least. But aren't you at the same time, Tyler, as a member of the media, aren't you a little bit jealous? Not that you want this all the time, because you're not going to win anything with it. But just a couple times a year, I wish I could do media in Dallas.
I am not at all, because I don't know maybe it's different because there's not a figurehead like Jerry Jones running these two teams, but the Sixers have been a cluster, for 5 years now, between the Ben Simmons stuff, the James Harden stuff, and like being a Sixers fan and somebody who talks about the team for a living has been mentally draining at times. I think the Flyers to the same extent, where there's been like a prolonged period of just like,
oh yeah,
figure out a direction, right? Like if you're going to be bad, be bad. If you're going to be good, be good. But those two teams, I think, in and of themselves, have kind of driven us a little bit, stir crazy over the last, decade or so. I do know. I would not want to be down there covering that team at all.
Just 2 or 3 times a year. At least they're fun.
Well, so here's my thing. The Eagles have frustrated us at times throughout, the last 10 years with whether it be the Carson Wentz stuff or Doug Peterson or Nick Sirianni conversation, right, or whatever. Go back all the way to Chip Kelly. But for the most part, they have been a pretty model organization.
Yeah.
They have, stayed out of headlines. They have done a good job of cultivating what seems to be a really good locker room and what seems to be a good product on the field. And you have leadership for a long time with guys like Brandon Graham and Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox. It's a good leadership group. So I think that they have given us a lot of calm. And really all we B and C about is football, right? Football stuff, play calling,
head coach,
personnel, decision making. We're not sitting here complaining about off the field issues or complaining about the ownership group or complaining about this,
they
that, or
pay
the third.
Everybody.
So, I would much prefer to sit here and complain about, well, why did you run the ball on third down, or what's this decision making, or why did the quarterback make that throw?
The day-to-day stuff.
Correct.
We pay very close attention to.
But the ownership group stuff, that kind of stuff, no, I'm glad we
look at the Giants, right? Like ownership is not. They're like the old school owners, but no one's going to tell you they've done a good job of running that team. And like it looks like their coach and their general manager is going to get fired, so it's another round of another general manager getting fired. No, they're not without their own issues, the Eagles, right? Like when things go wrong, it generally goes pretty wrong. Howie Roseman hasn't been able to sustain every year where they're the same thing every year, but they clean up pretty quick after they make a mess. And man, they're rolling right now. They really are. Also need to give a shout out to Nick Sirianni here for a second, because say what you want, and we've said it, right? So, firing them and after last week and the complaints, and I think 80% is justified in the complaints and the and just everything that goes with Sirianni. But on Friday, he did let the cat out of the bag that Jalen Hurts was dealing with an ankle injury, and they didn't properly declare it on an injury report or whatever. But they made up for it on Sunday because it was as clean of a game outside of the early turnovers, which were, one was unfortunate, another was, I'm just going to hey, you're going to lose the ball. You're going to get sacked by Micah Parsons. But like Nick Sirianni has a 7-2 football team.
Yeah. Well, and I think you bring up the interception. The throw could have had some more zip to it, right? It could have gotten there a little bit quicker, but it was the right read. And
It was
Trayvon Diggs made a really nice play. I mean,
Yep.
he's known for making ball hawking type plays. Now, he's also known for getting burnt over the top a lot. But the type of plays that Trayvon Diggs makes are those type of plays. Losing a step and regaining a step and a half and stepping in front and make the play. It was the right read. It was the right throw. It wasn't a great throw, but Trayvon Diggs made a really nice play. I mean, I think of all the interceptions that we've seen Jalen Hurts throw over the course of his career, that was one of the most excusable ones because he did everything right except get the ball there a little bit quicker than, he needed to get the ball there a little bit quicker. Trayvon Diggs made a great play.
You're going to throw interceptions.
Of course you are. He just went 5 games without throwing one.
Yeah, you're gonna throw interceptions. I as much as a lot of people are gonna say like, oh, you're always such a D to Jalen Hurts or whatever. Nah, like I'm fair with Jalen Hurts. You're gonna throw interceptions, man. You're gonna get sacked. You're gonna fumble the ball. He had been on a really, really good streak. Now, like, you can't do it on Thursday night. You do it on Thursday night, lose the game, I'm gonna be pissed. Andrew Brandt, who used to be in the Eagles front office and the Packers front office, and now he does stuff over at Villanova, and he's a business sports writer and very, very, very accomplished, and he's had a nice post NFL career. But he was one of the first salary cap people in the NFL, along with Joe Bannerstaff. But he tweets out the following last night: I think everyone except Eagles fans thinks the Eagles are a Super Bowl contender. No, like I don't agree with that. I feel like for the most part, Eagles fans right now realize that this team is rounding in the form. A lot of football left to play. A lot of times to not be Super Bowl contender. But does anybody feel like this isn't trending in the right direction? This is trending in the right direction right now. This defense is really good. This isn't a one-dimensional team that you say, well, if the offense. No, if the offense struggles, the defense will keep you in games. So I don't know if this team has played their best complete game yet. And that should make you feel good as a fan. Because the defense has played really well. They're on a streak where they're playing really well pretty much every week. The offense is what really feels like has started to find their identity. And it's like, all right, here's what they can do. Saquon can beat you. AJ can beat you. Devontae can beat you. And Jalen Hurts can beat you. He had a scramble yesterday. It was his longest run in a really long time, where you're reminded, hey, like, this guy can beat you with his legs, too. We know the rushing touchdowns. I mean, Jesus, he has 10 rushing touchdowns this year. He's among all-time rushing touchdown for quarterbacks. It's like third now or something like that. 50 rushing touchdowns?
Yeah, I think it's Josh Allen and Cam Newton are ahead of him.
How old is he? 25, 26?
Yeah, something like that.
Jesus. If he remains healthy and he's a starter, he's going to easily break those records. So, like, to me, the formula is being figured out right now to where at the end of the year, now it's the Eagles and the Lions in the NFC Championship game. Are they going to be able to get home field? I don't know, man. The Lions find ways to win games. They're really, really impressive. Jared Goff also had 5 interceptions last night. So you see how you can beat the Lions. But, like, it's a funny line by Andrew Brandt, because I think for the most part, we can be pretty miserable after wins, or we can be pretty angry after wins, and I'm as guilty as anybody out there. But we'll talk more about it tomorrow. I'm feeling pretty good as an Eagle fan right now, and I think most Eagles fans are feeling pretty good right now until Friday if they don't beat Washington on Thursday night. By the way, shout out to all the veterans out there. It is Veterans Day, and that's important, because it's somebody like me that doesn't really. I think my grandfather was, and he may have been stateside during one of the wars, right? But, like, I don't have a ton of servicemen and women in my family. So thank you for everybody out there that helped protect and serve this country forever, and their families, because they're making the ultimate sacrifice as well. When mom or dad has to go overseas, and you don't know the next time you're going to be able to talk to them. And for all the kids and everybody, the families of the service members as well. Thank you for all the sacrifices you've made for all of our safety and our freedom. And today is the day to celebrate that. It's also 11/11. 11/11, make a wish. You ever do that? But I noticed that as well. It's 11/11. You should subscribe, because he does a really good job with it. And it's something that I get every day in my inbox. Let me see where it is today. What time did it arrive? He gets it to you. And it's PHLY Daily. It really is. It's everything you need, everything that you need, and then some for the day. Rich Hoffman Jr. gets it to you. Everything you need in Philly sports and beyond. Videos from Twitter, videos from Instagram. You could literally read this, and then you would need to know everything you need to know to impress your friends at work. That's all you need. Subscribe at allphly.com. It's free. Allphly.com. It's PHLY daily. And it doesn't get delivered to your door. Bob Cooney came in here last Monday with a paper Daily News in his hand. Tyler Zilli.
So I have worked with Bob in the past, and I have never seen somebody more dedicated to the newspaper than Bob Cooney. He loves traditional journalism. He loves print journalism.
Yeah.
I have never seen a guy more committed to the newspaper than Bob, and that's awesome because I know he's worked in it for a long, long time. He knows what it takes to be in that industry. It's a tough part of this industry to do that kind of traditional journalism. He loves the print media.
Yeah, I held on for as long as I could. I did. It's going to be me with radio as far as how much I love radio, even though I'm not working in it anymore, right? It's going to be like, no, like literally you can't listen to radio anymore. It's like, all right. Well, like I was like this with the DH in baseball. I didn't want the DH for a really long time.
You know, I felt the same way. I tried being like the old school. You know, it's about matchups and
it changes the entire strategy.
Yeah, it's a strategical part of the manager game. I think it's a better product.
But you just got to give it up.
It's a better product.
At some point, you just got to give it up and realize
I don't need pitchers hitting anymore.
Yeah,
Plus, I think the Phillies would be screwed without a DH position over the last couple of years.
Well, you probably don't sign them. Or did they sign him before? I don't even remember when the DH started.
No, I think he played a lot of left his first year because Harper was not
He played a lot of left,
to...
and he did play a lot of left his first year
you know what
and
it was?
a half.
I think they had initially planned on Castellanos being the DH, right? And Harper playing right, and then Harper gets hurt, and then Hoskins gets hurt, and it's a lot of moving parts. And I think that's why Schwarber ended up getting a lot more DH reps than they expected, probably for the best. He's not a very good defender.
He is not. And you don't need him running around out there straight. And that's how he hurt himself last year. He was playing left field. Anyway. All right. Well, listen, I feel great today. I do. I feel great today. So you have the 76ers tomorrow night. You have the Flyers tonight. We have Monday Night Football. So, again, everybody out there, all the mad chatters, thank you. If you're watching on YouTube, whether it's live or not, subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe and comment. Let us know what you think about everything that's going on. And you can always reach me on DMs on social media at John, Jon Marks, Marks Media, at John Marks Media, and the email, johnmarksmedia@gmail.com. Look forward to talking to everybody out there. Until then, we're back tomorrow morning live at 8 o'clock. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.